is open again, and he makes it 3 in a row.
Truly a Mickey 3 there. Into the box for Espeleta. Espeleta with the cross. Inside and in for Rogers.
3-2 pitch on its way from Kehoe. And that one is ripped through the left side for a base hit. The tying run will come in to score.
Turnover. Won by Velasquez. Inside give to Destine. Off the glass and in.
Rowan heading for the touchpad with the lead. And the props will take the men's 400-yard freestyle relay. Johnson to LaFaro. Corner three-pointer. Splash.
Bada bing, bada boom. Everyone's going crazy in the room.
Live from Joseph F. Facina Field in the city of New Rochelle, PDF Sportsnet presents Elite Football Alliance Kickoff Special Football. PDF Sportsnet, Joe Foreman alongside David Pizzuto. Dave, we were just treated to a great game earlier in the day. It was a victory for the Brooklyn Pharaohs over the New York Bears. 26-12 was our final, a back-and-forth game that was tied at 12 at one point in the second half, but the Brooklyn offense propelling them to victory as they take the season-opening matchup.
Yeah, great treatment for our first game, and now we have the second one here. It's the Gators and the Demon Knights. Game 2 of what should be a great doubleheader here. So excited to bring it to all of our fans at home.
Last season, the Gators played to a 7-3 record, a much less successful season for the Demon Knights in 2021. They played to a 1-8 record. As you mentioned earlier during our previous broadcast, this matchup is a rematch of the 2020 Elite Football Alliance Championship game. That game was won by the Gators, and that was the first loss the Demon Knights suffered on the field during that 2020 season, so you know they'd like to bounce back from what was a difficult season with a win against this Gators team.
Yeah, it was a 13-0 defeat back then in 2020, and last year the Demon Knights had a relatively poor season. They're looking to bounce back. The Gators are always near the top of the table, Joe. They're always figuring in somehow. Obviously, they were the champions a couple of years ago, had a good showing last year, and now 2022 they feel is their year. They mix it up well. A lot of movement with the run and the pass. We should see a really fine game here today.
Some have said there was a bit of a black cloud over this Gators team following that 2020 championship win because of the Red Devils' absence from the 2020 schedule. They sat out that season amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. The Gators went on to win the championship in 2020. Last year, their season was ended by the Brooklyn Pharaohs team that we saw earlier in a 42-26 defeat. So they have a bit of a bitter taste in their mouths coming off of that defeat in the playoffs last season. Of course, the Pharaohs went on to win the Elite Football Alliance Championship last year following their victory over the Gators in what was the second to last round of the playoffs. They defeated the Red Devils in the championship game last year. And it does appear as if we're just a couple of minutes from getting underway here from Joseph F. Facina Field. But before we do, we'll take a look at some of the standouts for these two teams. And I do apologize. Our rosters had a lot of late additions, Dave, especially on the Gators side. And we were told to expect the unexpected, though I do think many would have supposed that their star quarterback from last season, Stephen Cologne, would return to the team. He was not listed on the roster as of last night. He was added to the roster today. So he will be calling the shots under center for this Gators team. Certainly a player to look out for on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and understandably, the offense flows through him. And if you want to get anything done against the Gators, you have to first think about stopping him. And that's where it all starts. The offense funnels through him. The Gators are also a pretty stout team defensively. They have given up big points in some marked games, but for the most part, they're a short tackling team. They play well up front, Joe. They have a good handle on what to do in the trenches, and that's why they've been successful.
And Cologne does return this season, as I mentioned. One key offensive player did not return. We saw him earlier. Kyrie Mims was out on the field for the Brooklyn Pharaohs. He was the leading receiver for this Gators team last year. He does not return, but Kadeem Wilson, who officially had over 500 yards receiving, does return, along with their rushing leader, Christian Ramsey. So the leading passer, the leading rusher, and second leading receiver back for this Gators offense. And they had several players, 4 returners up over 100 yards receiving last year. 3 of those returning players had at least 10 catches. And despite the loss of Mims, there is still plenty of offensive firepower remaining on this Gators ball club.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they are, of all the teams in the EFA, Joe, they beat you in a lot of different ways, especially through the air. They throw the ball a lot. They like to play a wide open style. And, they can beat you in more ways than one.
And it looks like we're having a pregame prayer. So Dave and I will step aside for just a moment and let that transpire out on the field.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for our sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Good luck to both teams. Play to play, win to win. Amen.
And we are back here on PDF Sportsnet as we had a quick pregame prayer ahead of kickoff between the Gators and the Demon Knights. And ahead of our brief break right there, we were talking about this Gators team and some of their key returners. Let's take a look over towards the Demon Knights roster, a roster that really became depleted last season, especially after the first 2 weeks. Their quarterback had been admitted to law school just ahead of the start of the season, and following a tough defeat in their first game, several players left the team. Though they did pick up a victory last year, one game they won over the New York Bandits in Week 3. They did not pick up another victory after that, a team that is really looking to bounce back and a team that does have a past history of success.
Yeah, we've talked to Sean Spencer before the game, Joe, and navigating this event, and he basically told us, look, it's a tough season. Nobody expects a lot from us, this year, but you know what? We're going to surprise some people. We've retooled, we've reloaded. They have 3 quarterbacks, Joe, on the roster, and all 3 of them may play here tonight. So that should be exciting to see. So, they'll mix it up. And he did say, Joe, and a lot of the people on this Demon Knights say, no one runs the ball better than us. They are a ground and pound, wear you down type of team. And, I'm assuming we're going to see a lot of that tonight.
A very interesting storyline to watch for the Demon Knights at the quarterback position is the insertion of Ricardo Caballero at the quarterback spot. He is a linebacker who we were told is going to start at quarterback here tonight. We will see if that holds true, or perhaps floating some information out there to try and throw the competition off. I wouldn't put it past some of these people around the league. As we saw with the rosters, the Gators submitted quite a few players to their roster between last night and this evening's game. So we will see if there are any players that we don't expect to be out there who do take the field for either of these teams tonight. But Caballero, the leading tackler for the Demon Knights last year, he had 19 tackles, and he is expected to get snaps at the quarterback position. So it will be very interesting to see what he is able to do at quarterback. And we should get a look at him shortly, though. It does appear that his team will be kicking off. It will be the Demon Knights kicking off to the Gators to get things started. And the Demon Knights yet to take the field, but we are just moments away from getting underway.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the nerves are always high, Joe. I know these 2 teams that are on the field now got here early, and they were, settling in. They were having a few laughs. On the sidelines. They were watching the first teams perform. But now it's game time, and now they got to go out there and, back up all the talk that they've been doing leading up to this event. And as confident as both teams are, Joe, the jitters are there, the butterflies are there, their family and friends are here. We got a really nice crowd, on hand for this game. So once they get those jitters out, maybe we'll see, some great football. But that's definitely part of things here.
And for those close to this Gators organization, they know that this season is being played in honor of Coach D. We were told that they do have a patch of his face on their jerseys. I believe I can see such a patch on their chest. Looks like the right side, if you're wearing the jersey, there is a patch commemorating the life of Coach D. Many players who were a part of this Harlem Gators team returning to the team in order to play this season in honor of Coach D. So that's a storyline to watch for the Gators heading into this 2022 Elite Football Alliance season. And They are getting prepared to receive the opening kickoff from the Demon Knights, who have just taken the field. And the back half of our Elite Football Alliance kickoff doubleheader coming up in just a few moments right here on PDF Sports. And we are back from Joseph F. Facina Field. We hope our graphics package got you hyped up for the start of tonight's game between the Demon Knights and the Harlem Gators. We are set for the opening kickoff, and I believe that is Ricardo Caballero who will be kicking off for the Demon Knights. He wears number 5. Once again, we are assuming that the rosters that we have are up to date, put in a lot of legwork ahead of this game to ensure that we had the names and numbers of every player on both squads, as throughout week 1 you will see a lot of late additions to these Elite Football Alliance rosters, and the Gators certainly no exception to that. I don't believe I spotted any additions for the Demon Knights.
Yeah, and we appreciate these uniforms, Joe. Numbers nice and big for us to see on both sides. Of course, Demon Knights in their home black jerseys. They are the home team here on the neutral site of Facina, and of course the Gators are the visiting team in their light colored jerseys.
And the whistle has blown. Kickoff coming up. And Caballero sends it toward the far sideline. That kick will head straight out of bounds, and that will be out at about the 25-yard line.
Yeah, so our first play of the game, Joe, results in a flag. We had a lot of flags in our first game between the Pharaohs and the Bears. It got cleaned up. The later we got in the game, the less flags we saw. But they did play a really big part in the game as well. So we'll see if that plays a part, as we're going to have the ball automatically spotted here at the 40-yard line for the Gators.
Once again, they are playing with modified NFL rules here in the Elite Football Alliance, and as a result, that ball is placed at the 40-yard line. So good starting field position for the Gators offense. And as we mentioned during the pregame, it will be Stefan Gnarly Bleezy Cologne under center for the Gators. Huge season for him last year, nearly 2,000 yards passing.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Cologne, is that when he has the ball in his hand, you don't know what he's going to do. He can throw it down the field. He can throw it short. He can tuck it down and run. He's so multi-dimensional, and it's so hard to keep players like that under wraps.
And Cologne has a lot of weapons. We highlighted several of them during the pregame. Ramsey, Wilson, Cole, Gardner. As the Gators are huddled up at about the 30-yard line, our first play will come from the 40. As it looks like, once again, we are having communication between the officials and the sidelines. So there is going to be a delay to the start of this first Gators possession. But Dave, delays are something we saw quite a bit of during the first game. Not the fault of any of the officials or site supervisors. We had a lot of flags in that first game, as that one ran nearly 3 hours.
Yeah, I think it might have went even a little bit more than 3. And I think the problem there, Joe, was the sticks were on the line. The sticks were all the way on the other side of the field. Now you see them entering your screen from the right side, and now they got them situated so we know where the down markers are and where teams need to get for a first down. So looks like we might be all set here, Joe.
We appear to be moments away from our first offensive snap for the Gators. And once again, in case you missed game 1, it was a victory for the Brooklyn Pharaohs as they defeated the New York Bears 26-12. This game 2 of our Elite Football Alliance doubleheader coverage on this opening weekend of the EFA, exclusively on PDF Sports Network. Our earlier broadcast, our debut broadcast, this one our second, and we are set to get underway. The Gators offense moves to the line of scrimmage, pistol formation, as Cologne has 3 receivers wide to his right, 1 to his left. Heard a whistle come from down on the field, and the referee is standing over the football as they continue to work on what appears to be the first down marker alongside the line of scrimmage.
Well, it's the first game for everyone, Joe. The officials, the timekeepers, and all the rest of them.
Ramsey in the backfield. Pistol formation behind Cologne. That pass swung to the near side, and that catch is made by Wesley Forio. And very quickly we have a reception for the wideout. Listed as a running back on the official roster. Forio hails from Staten Island, New York, my hometown, and he went to Curtis High School, closely affiliated with my former high school, Staten Island Tech.
There we go. We saw saw at least one Susan Wagner alum from my old stomping grounds.
Handoff goes to Ramsey, and he takes it outside of the right guard and is met at the 45-yard line. Gang tackle there. That will be enough to move the chains up forward for 5.
Both teams want to win this game in the trenches, Joe. That's a key factor here. So look for that push right at the line of scrimmage. Who's winning those battles? That could go a long way to determining who's going to win this game.
Gators opening this game with some tempo on the offensive side of the ball as Cologne fakes the handoff, throw to the left side. That is just out of the reach of Dominic Page. He had an opening, and that ball sails just over his fingertips.
Yeah, it looks like Cologne had the time to throw there, Joe, but unfortunately a misfire, and it'll be second down. It'll be third down, right?
Yes, it will be third down. They did pick up the first down on that opening pass play. Third down and about 5. Ball will be snapped from the Demon Knights' 45-yard line. Cologne in the shotgun, single back to his right, 3 wide left, 1 wide right. Snap is taken by Cologne. He looks left, surveys the field, throws, and that is intercepted. No, it is off the hands of Andrew Tate. He had a chance, and he could not bring it in. A golden opportunity for the Demon Knights defense, but that ball is dropped on what could have been a big play headed back the other way. There was a lot of space.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. We'll try and take a look at it in just a few moments. Perhaps after this play, if there's tempo. Well, let's see.
Gators certainly thought about going for it on 4th down. The offense was out on the field. That ball hit right off the hands of Andrew Tate, playing in the safety spot. And there was nobody home underneath that ball for the Gators. The intended target on that play appeared to be Page once again.
Yeah, so we saw it in and out of the hands of Tate, who wishes he would have that one back. But 4th down, Joe, first real big point of the game. We're going to see a timeout here by the Gators.
So an opportunity for a big play on defense goes by the wayside for the Demon Knights. And Dave, we saw it early in our first game that we covered on the day as we had a pick 6 go for a touchdown. That was the lone score for quite some time in that game. The Pharaohs took one to the house on the defensive side of the ball as we get another look at what very nearly was an interception for the Demon Knights. And like I said, there was plenty of room along that far sideline. There was a man back to block in the secondary for the Demon Knights as well. So that could have been a huge return for Tate, though it does appear as if the Gators were going to punt. I did not see a quarterback on the field ahead of what would have been the 4th down snap. It's 4th and about 5.
Yeah, that's a good point, as it looks like we are going to see a kick here, Joe. And it looks like it will be Kevin White, one of the defensive linemen, who will line up for the punt.
2 return men lined up at about the 15 and the 5 for the Demon Knights. Errol James, the deeper of those 2 returners. And that punt is sent toward the 20-yard line. It's the man up front, Ty Lopez, who makes the catch, and he is planted on the return by Omar DeBerry. A big hit by the 6'3", or excuse me, I had to make sure I had the right height and weight, the 6'4", 280-pounder. We saw a lot of big hits during our first game, and you could hear them from up here in the booth. For those who say they don't hit as hard in semi-professional football, I challenge you to take a look at any of these games, especially our earlier game this afternoon.
Yeah, that was shoulder to the chest, and that's going to leave a mark. And a great, great tackle that time by DeBerry.
I have DeBerry listed on my roster as 00 as of last night. He is wearing number 71 here today. So it will be a first down for the Demon Knights from their own 32-yard line. And as we suspected, Ricardo Caballero is under center.
Caballero, first action as a quarterback in his career here with the Demon Knights.
As you mentioned during the pregame, this is a ground and pound offense, and the opening snap of the game is fumbled by Caballero. Fortunately for the Demon Knights, he scoops it up, but it couldn't have gotten off to a much worse start on that play for Empire State. Fortunately, Caballero able to get back on top of that ball. That could have been disastrous.
Yeah, you'll see the exchange here, and he's going to line up under center, which is something that we didn't see, I don't think, at all in the first game, and we'll see if it happens here on the snap. It looked like, it was just the exchange. It wasn't any sort of bobble coming out from center. It was a straight exchange that went awry. So
Caballero right back under center.
Claims the red kick on the foul.
And the handoff is taken, and that's a nice chunk play on second down, as that looks to be just short of the sticks, as that's taken out across the 40-yard line. I believe that was Mark Thompson on the carry for the Demon Knights. He wears number 26, and that indeed was Thompson, taking it inside of right tackle for a gain of what appears to be about 13 or 14 yards.
Yeah, so got a lot of that back, sets up a 3rd and short. It's exactly what the doctor ordered after that horrendous first play.
Bunch formation here, or Snugs formation, I should say. 2 lined up on the line of scrimmage on each side, as that handoff once again goes to Thompson, and he fights forward through a couple of tackles, and he's out across midfield. First down, Demon Knights.
Yeah, nice job running right up the gut. And, we said that plenty of times in the open, Joe. The trenches and the line of scrimmage, that's where the games are won and lost. And, it took a little bit of time for that to develop, but nice run on the play.
Thompson, the workhorse early in this game for the Demon Knights. 2 nice carries as the Demon Knights hustle to the line. The Gators defense doesn't appear to be set, as once again the Demon Knights came to the line in a Snugs formation, and they force Harlem to call timeout. So some tempo from the Gators on their first drive, some tempo from the Demon Knights ahead of what would have been another first down snap.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's one of the things you want to do. If you feel that you are more prepared than your opponent, you want to take advantage of that. So you want to line up quickly. You want to get in and out of formations quickly. You want to substitute quickly. And all of that throws off the timing of the other team that has to respond to that. So good job by the Demon Knights to keep the Gators on their heels here, and forces them into a timeout.
Timeout on the field as both teams are huddled along their respective sidelines. And Gators' drive got off to a good start as they moved out toward midfield. Their drive stalled, and it certainly could have been far worse for them as the Demon Knights dropped an interception, but not to be deterred. Empire State takes the field on offense, and they have been pounding the rock. You said it during the pregame, Dave. That is what we were told to expect from this Demon Knights team. They believe they run it better than anyone in the league. They believe they are the toughest team in the league, and they are trying to show that here on their opening drive.
Yeah, for sure. And, you have to set the momentum early, Joe. You have to, set the tone of the game, set the tempo of the game, and that's what the Demon Knights want to do. They're not going to razzle-dazzle you. They're not going to, do all these fancy plays. They're going to line up, and they're going to ground and pound, and they're going to, try to punch you in the face at the line of scrimmage. And if they have success with that, they can do that all game, and they have no problem playing that style of game for 60 minutes.
Looks like another Snugs look for the Demon Knights as Caballero will line up under center. Caballero takes the snap, fakes the handoff. He looks to throw. Caballero going deep. Caballero has a man, and what a grab on the play by Christian Grizzle as he goes up above the defense. He beat Andre Simpson, who was there on the coverage, and the Demon Knights have it inside of the red zone.
Well, wonderful play, play action on the play, and a beautiful throw, good time in the pocket, and then to go up and get it, that play was amazingly done.
We've seen the running game of the Demon Knights on full display. The play action fake sets up the deep ball. Caballero to Grizzle, and he makes the catch. A job well done by the Demon Knights wideout. Snugs formation once again as the Demon Knights line up at about the 15-yard line. First trip to the red zone for either team in this game. Caballero takes the snap, and he hands off to Thompson. Thompson lowers his shoulder, and he gets about 2 or 3 as he lowered the pads and barreled into the line of scrimmage. Good hard running by Thompson.
Yeah, we'll take another look at that big play down the field. Of course, Grizzle battling for position and coming down with the catch. That is a fine play. The best play of the game so far, individual effort, because he had to go up to get that one, Joe. That was no easy task, and credit Caballero for putting that ball in a position where Grizzle could come down and make a play.
We have 2 number 28s on the roster, Malik, Liverman, and Andre Simpson. I'm not sure who that is that was lined up at the cornerback spot. Right. No photos of these players, so tough to tell.
Yep, and both listed within an inch of each other.
Yeah,
so.
Similar builds.
Right.
Was hoping maybe one was from Staten Island that I might know them, but no luck there. So I do apologize to either Andre or Malik, whoever it was that didn't get beat on that play. But you saw in the replay, the corner got caught looking into the backfield on the play-action fake, and you can't blame him. This Demon Knights team, one known for running the ball, as they fake the handoff, and on the sweep, they give it to a man coming across the formation. I do not have a number 7 on the roster, but that play will go for a Demon Knights touchdown on the ground.
Wow, what a tremendous play. And kind of fooled everyone, and then the missed tackle really was the clincher on it, Joe. What a tremendous play. Once again, good a good look, a different formation than what the Gators have seen, and there you go, a good second effort, and it leads to the touchdown.
Talk about making a statement on your opening drive if you're the Demon Knights. Stellar running of the football. They hit the Gators with a play-action fake that opens up the deep ball. A tremendous catch by Christian Grizzle to put his team in the red zone, and that sets up the touchdown. Once again, we do apologize. No number 7 on the official Empire State Demon Knights roster, so we don't know who it was that took that into the end zone. Nonetheless, the Demon Knights will attempt a 2-point try, and Caballero is stuffed on what appeared to be a design run. So for what was one of the rare occasions during their first possession of the game, the Demon Knights are stuffed on a running play. The lone blemish on that opening drive, the muff snap, but Dave, a lot to like from this Empire State team on their first possession.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first play you could throw away, but after that it was all Demon Knights and really exercising their will at the line of scrimmage, and because they do, able to soften up the team, get the big play via the pass, and then, of course, go back to the run to pound it in.
We had a flag on that last play, Dave. The Demon Knights offense is back out on the field. Looks like the ball is marked just inside the 9. As they'll get that towel out of the way. Demon Knights will try it again here, as that is pitched back to Thompson. Now,
big save by Madeira.
Did they not score, Dave?
Oh, they're saying
The shot
fourth down, so that's quite possible, Joe. Maybe they didn't get in, and that was a third down.
I saw a touchdown signal along the pylon.
I sure did as well. So it looks like they're going to change hands. So we're going to take that. We're going to take those points off the board.
Let's take a look back at that replay and see if we can catch it. I am certain that I saw a touchdown signal. Now, there's no doubt they didn't score. If you look at the official along the pylon, I was certain he threw up a touchdown signal.
I thought so too, Joe, and I thought he definitely had the pylon. It is, I guess not. No, he was short, Joe. He was short. He was short.
On that angle, he's not close.
Right.
He stumbled down to about maybe the 5-yard line, so there's no touchdown. That's my bad.
How about that? Well, I think, it's really hard. Our angle here is so pitched that it's really hard to gain that corner. But yeah, 0-0 is our score.
It's really tough to tell. I thought I saw the touchdown signal. Nonetheless, it is Gators football as they snap that one from about their own 5-yard line, and upended was the ball carrier on that play. Once again, a tough angle, hard to see, as once again we see the Gators now going no huddle. Fake on the handoff, and that ball hits a man in stride. Here comes James Cole. He's out across midfield, and nobody is going to catch him as James Cole takes it to the house for a Gators touchdown.
Wow, what a change of events, Joe, huh? That certainly changes things up. Go from thinking that the Empire State is up in the game to now seeing that the Gators have taken control with that last play.
Cologne to Cole on a long touchdown. That play about 95 yards, perhaps a bit less, but the Gators will take it regardless as James Cole with a huge touchdown reception. And what a response. We thought the Demon Knights had scored. Instead, it is Cole breaking a tackle, and nobody was going to catch him after that. A picture-perfect ball from Stephen Cologne, and his team now leads it 6-0.
Yeah, you know, it was the play action right in the middle, Joe, that kind of froze the cornerback out of that play. And as a result, it's the Gators who go up by 6.
As you said, Dave, couldn't have put it better myself. What a turn of events. We thought the Demon Knights had scored the game's first touchdown. Instead, it is the Gators with the game's first touchdown. Less than 2 minutes later, they will now try a 2-point attempt. Cologne in the shotgun. One back to his left, fakes the handoff, looks left, rolls right. Cologne headed for the goal line. Cologne met, and Cologne is in for the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, very patient play by Cologne. It was a good fake once again, and Cologne able to take it himself to the right and waited, Joe, for his blockers to kind of set up in front. And a nice play that time by the man who makes things happen, gives them an extra 2 points, and the Gators are up 8-0.
As that play developed and the receivers began to move around through the end zone, you get the sense that as a wide receiver, you have to be thinking, my quarterback could be taking off. Sometimes you work back toward the quarterback if you're looking for a reception in the end zone, but perhaps in that case, it's better to move away from the quarterback and set up some more running room. And Cologne had one man to beat at the goal line, and he lowered his shoulder and barreled into the end zone for the 2 points. So we thought, once again, that the Demon Knights had scored. No touchdown. Gators get it back after a huge 4th down stop. They take it 95 yards on this touchdown reception by James Cole, and Harlem leads Empire State by a score of 8-0. What a huge swing in the opening quarter of this game.
Yeah, we saw a couple of huge plays in that first game of the doubleheader, Joe, but nothing as big as that. 95 yards to the house for our first score here in the first quarter. And the Gators, you know, after a slow start, Joe, really, you know, setting the tempo now, you know, showcasing their offensive playmaking ability, even on that 2-point conversion, and sending a message early here to the Demon Knights.
Well, I spoke about it during game 1. I was looking for a lot of offense here in game 2. We've certainly gotten that early on. Smash mouth running by the Demon Knights. They took it all the way down the field, helped along by a huge pass play as well. Then the Gators get it back after being forced to punt on their first possession, and it takes them just that one huge pass play to go 95 yards off the play fake. And if you're the corner on that play in coverage against Cole, he did the right thing. He did look into the backfield, but he was right in Cole's hip pocket when that catch was made.
Correct.
Once that tackle was broken, it was game over for the Demon Knights on defense, and they now trail by 8 points. Kickoff on its way from the Gators, and once again, Lopez and James back deep for the Demon Knights, lined up at about the 15-yard line. White steadying the football on the tee. And he gets set to send it deep. White kicks it away, and that's a good one. That's headed for the end zone. We might have a touchback. And that rolls through the back of the end zone for a touchback. And, Dave, that is the first touchback we've seen today. Great job by White, not giving the Demon Knights a chance to return it. And they will force Empire State to take it the full length of the field offensively, something we haven't seen much throughout today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that had a nice bounce to it as well. Definitely was helped along on its way out. But feels good to have your opponent starting deeper into their own territory than what we've seen here today into tonight.
Demon Knights ran the ball very well on their first drive. It set up a deep connection off of the play action. Caballero to Grizzle. We thought Empire State had scored. They did not, as it looked like the ball carrier stumbled to the pylon. In fact, was about 4 or 5 yards short. And now the Demon Knights will once again line up under center. It's been a snugs formation for them, I believe, on every play of this game thus far. The box is stacked for the Gators as Caballero's back to pass, and he is swallowed up, escapes, and there's nowhere to go, as it looks like the Gators were simply committed to ensuring that the Demon Knights could not put the ball on the ground there, and they had so many coming that Caballero had no running lane to escape the pressure.
Yeah, second drive in a row that they've started with negative yardage, Joe, just almost equally to the first time, a loss of 6 on the play, so it sets up a 2nd and long. And don't know what the intentions were on that play, but Demon Knights have had some success running it up the middle and, of course, to that right side where they almost scored that touchdown.
Number 2, Ty Lopez in the backfield on this drive. We saw Mark Thompson get the bulk of the workload on drive number 1. Snugs formation. Caballero hands off. And that play doesn't go anywhere as Lopez is stifled at the line of scrimmage. Going to be a 3rd and very long for the Demon Knights. And we will see what the passing game looks like, minus the threat of the play action and minus Ricardo Caballero, who heads to the sideline. So we're going to have a change at quarterback. And you called it, Dave. We were told last night on our call with Sean Spencer that we could expect to see more than one quarterback get in this game, potentially all 3. And we'll get a look at who is under center when the Demon Knights break huddle.
Yeah, that's right. He does have 3 on the roster with which to use. Jaden Mann, Robert DeRosa as well. Can see action there. But it is Caballero who trots back in, Joe.
He was jogging over to the sideline, must have made his way back out onto the field. So it is Caballero under center, and we have a quick flag out of the backfield, and that's a delay of game. So perhaps seeing Caballero jogging to the sideline contributed to that delay of game, as I am certain he had made his way over to the sticks, must have made his way back into the huddle, and apparently not in time, as it becomes a 3rd and much longer now for the Demon Knights. Looks to be a 3rd and about 15 yards. I don't believe they've moved the down marker back yet following that flag. But it appears as if it is going to be a 3rd and 15.
Yeah, delay of game and some other things being explained.
Well, they're telling the Demon Knights to hold up and wait.
Penalty was declined.
Okay, so that's why the down marker didn't move. The penalty was declined. So it remains 3rd and 15.
On a delay of game, though, if it was a delay of game, that's an automatic 5.
You're right, Dave, it is.
Yeah, I don't know. So maybe there was...
Modified NFL rules add to the exceptions. Delay of game does not move you back 5 yards each and every time, as once again, Caballero lines up under center. Snugs formation, single back for the Demon Knights. 7 in the box for the Gators as Caballero drops back to pass. He fires one downfield, and that is intercepted. Antoine Earl with the pick. And he is taken down along the Gator sideline at the Demon Knights 26-yard line. And I thought I saw a flag in the middle of the field, so hold right up. There is some laundry out there on the field, Dave.
Yeah, and getting a look to see what the call will be, Joe. But that pass was thrown a little bit behind the intended receiver, and stepping in were the Gators defensively and able to turn that into a turnover. It looks like they're still going to spot the ball. Well, actually, they're moving this.
The turnover looks like it's going to stand, but
Right.
the Gators are moving way back. They were at the Demon Knights 26.
It's an illegal block in the back, Joe.
Spot foul.
On the return. Yep, at the spot, back them up. So they're at the 45, but still, I mean, you would think, Joe, that perhaps a punt might have gotten them here, you know, maybe 10 yards further up the field. So if you're the Demon Knights, obviously you'd like to have that one back.
And you didn't know that this would be the outcome.
Exactly. But could be worse, I guess, if you think about it. But
certainly could.
We'll see if the Gators can make it hurt, though, up 8-0.
The Gators starting at their own 45-yard line sounds a lot better for the Demon Knights than the Empire State 26, as that's handed off up the middle. And Joshua Hines, the 5'8", 250-pound running back, takes it into the teeth of the Demon Knights defensive line, and he powers forward for a gain of about 4.
Yeah, and that's a very uneventful gain of 4, Joe. Didn't look like he got much at all, but that forward push gets him the 4 yards. It's a good start here for the Gators.
Gators continue to go no huddle. Handoff out of the gun, and nowhere to go for the ball carrier. That's Jeffrey Davis. Or perhaps Shannon James, that is. 2 number 15s as well. That is Shannon James on the carry. 5'7", 160-pound wide receiver. That certainly isn't the 5'11", 240-pound Davis.
Right. That's how we'll get by with multiple players wearing the same number until, of course, the rosters settle into what they're supposed to be, Joe. We've been told that usually around week 3, week 4, rosters settle. That's about the time that players can actually move around in the league. Obviously, if teams agree to transfers and things of that nature. So something to keep our eye on as we progress through the season.
Well, they certainly aren't sharing a jersey, Dave. So that's an expensive problem to have as Cologne fakes the handoff, rolls right. He throws down the field. There's nobody home, and that is nearly intercepted by Errol James.
Yeah, what a almost a unfortunate turn of events for the Gators. And thankfully for them, the receiver could not come down with the ball. We'll get another quick look at it in just a moment.
Demon Knights have had a couple of chances for interceptions in this opening quarter. First one hit off the hands of Andrew Tate. A much tougher play there for Errol James, who dove down toward the turf, fully extended, got his hands on it, but couldn't corral it, as Gators are lining up here on 4th down to go for it. And it looks like the Demon Knights may have jumped off sides. Could be a free play. Cologne looking deep. Cologne, and he has a man in the end zone. That is a Gators touchdown. No, that ball came out. That ball came out in the back of the end zone as it was bobbled, and the contact with the turf dislodged it as it slowly rolled away. And another opportunity for James Cole, Dave. He nearly had his second score of the game. Looked to have brought it in, but as they say, Dave, you have to complete the process of the catch. He had me fooled in the back of the end zone, and we'll get another look at it. As a flag comes in on the bottom of the screen, and I looked away too soon.
Yeah, it certainly looked like he was about to come down with it, and he knows you see him drop his head there, but would have been a beautiful play. It's just with on the process of going down, he lost the ball, never truly secured it.
Well, the flag earns them another play. It was
Correct.
offsides. It was a free play.
It was a free play, and they have to move the ball 5 yards up as well. So that's what they're doing now.
Yep.
And it'll be a 4th and very short.
Goal kick for Westchester.
We are going to have another 4th down try for the Gators. A 4th and very short, perhaps a long yard. And the handoff, unsurprisingly, goes to Hines, and
that'll be close.
That is awfully close. The Gators think they have it. That's unsurprising, as we'll see the officials signal. And I think they might bring the chains out, Dave. We'll see. But Gators offense remains out on the field. The clock will be stopped, and I think they're going to measure.
No, I think that's the quarter.
End of the
Joe.
quarter. They're going to switch sides.
That
All
is
right.
the end of the quarter.
So that will bring the first quarter to a close. The Harlem Gators lead the Empire State Demon Knights by a score of 8-0. Gators will continue their drive following that fourth down conversion when we come back from this break here on PDF Sports Network.
You Know 'em Right is the podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, entertainment, and pop culture. On the show, hosts Nick and Joe walk guests through the retelling of their humble beginnings, covering an array of topics from specific interests and hobbies to personal opinions regarding each facet of their industry. You Know 'em Right offers insight on how to adapt and advance, and offers alternative advice as opposed to a one-size-fits-all strategy. Above all else, the number one goal of You Know 'em Right is to offer listeners an exclusive behind-the-scenes vantage point not found anywhere else through its increasing list of professional connections. With a following that continues to grow daily, You Know 'em Right is transforming.
Blown coverage by the Demon Knights for the score. And the Gators will go up by a pair of touchdowns after that last connection. I believe that was Kadeem Wilson with the touchdown grab. It sure was. Cologne to Wilson right out of the break as he reared back and fired a strike to the end zone. And we caught the tail end of it. But that is a Gators touchdown, and they now lead it 14-0. They will try for two, and we spoke about it on the phone last night, Dave. Sean was telling us about the resilience of his team and how they've come back from down 2 scores several times in the past. They will be forced to do so yet again in this game if they're going to come away with the win. Cologne lines up. And a pistol offset here. The back lined up to his left. Watch the pitch on this play. In the backfield, that's Spencer Adams. 2 receivers wide right, 2 wide left, and a flag, as we are going to have a delay of game call.
Yeah, we apologize for that last replay. We caught just the tail end of that play as we were coming back in on an abbreviated stoppage here between quarters. But in any event, the Gators up 14-0 on that one. And you said it, Joe. It was a complete blown coverage on that play.
Sure was, as you had 2 defensive backs looking at one another at the tail end of that play, questioning whose assignment that was. And for a team that runs the football predominantly on the offensive side of the ball, a 2-score deficit looms a lot larger. That being said, this Empire State team has come out running it very successfully. The interception on their last drive leading to this Gators score as they will try again following the delay of game. 2-point try from the 7. Cologne looks to his right, throws for the back of the end zone, and that is swatted away along the chalk. A good play in coverage. And that was number 9 for the Demon Knights. That is Malachi Young at the cornerback spot.
Yeah, one-on-one coverage there, Joe, during the 2-point conversion. But it was a well-placed ball. It's the only place you can really put it, but nice defensive play.
Demon Knights offense will come back out onto the field, trailing by 14 following this kickoff. But speaking of the Demon Knights offense, if you are this Empire State team, it's still far too early to get away from what you do best, running the football. But this is a drive where they certainly need to come away with points. Absolutely can't afford another turnover. And really, if you take away that blown coverage and look at this game as a whole to this point, a couple of big plays really hurt them. A missed tackle and that blown coverage, 2 backbreakers for this Empire State team in the first quarter. But if you look outside of that, they did come up with a stop on their first drive and have played fairly well, at least ahead of that interception on the offensive side. We thought they'd scored, so they were doing pretty well in my estimation at that point, and then things turned very quickly in the other direction.
That's 100% true, and that's the way these games can go. We know how talented these Gators are, and, you know, just the same way the Demon Knights don't feel like they're ever out of a game, and the Gators are not going to let a couple of bad plays at the beginning of the game really affect who they are. And the big play ability, Joe, we saw, on that last pass, of course, the 95-yard touchdown. There's just a lot of playmaking ability, and their ability to kind of extend the field, Joe, is really, playing with the Demon Knights right now. Because, when you start having big plays like that, you can't cheat anymore. You can't bring 8 in the box or 7 in the box, expect to run. You got to keep your safeties deep, and that's going to open up some running lanes now for the Gators.
Gators will send it deep once again. Lopez and James back for the Demon Knights, who could certainly use a good kick return here, but we saw kickoff specialist Kevin White send it through the back of the end zone. Not on a fly, but it rolled through the end zone on his last kickoff attempt. Would love to replicate that here.
Yep. It all counts the same way, Joe, whether it's 70 yards in the air or on the turf.
He sends it away, and it winds up in the hands of Lopez. Lopez moving toward the left sideline. He has space and has some blockers. And Lopez is hit late. That will draw the flag, and that's going to be a 15-yard penalty for unnecessary roughness. And I said it, Dave, the Demon Knights would hope to get a big return. They got it. Tack on 15 more on the penalty.
Yeah, unnecessary penalty that time on the Gators after a really good return as well. So let's see if the Demon Knights can utilize it to their advantage.
So the Demon Knights should be starting around, I would believe, the 45 of the Gators. And the ball hasn't been moved yet. I saw the flag come in, as we will see on this replay. Lopez got low before taking that hit. Very fortunate for him, as he was on his way down, and that's big in him not taking the full brunt of that shot. It looked like he was out around the 40. That's where they're lined up right now.
Yeah, now they'll put it at the 45 of the Gators. So
okay.
Actually, they're moving it up even more, Joe. We can always look at that replay and know exactly where he went out of bounds. But looks like they got the right spot here at the 41-yard line. What a great starting field position here for Empire State.
And you feel like they just have to capitalize on this field position, have to come away with points on this drive. The Gators have really made a statement on their last 2 possessions. And after forcing the INT last time out for the Demon Knights, we'll see if they're deterred from the passing game a bit. We do expect them to continue to pound the rock regardless of the score. Caballero remains under center, and he hands off to Thompson, who is stuffed in the backfield. That is going to be a loss of 3.
Yeah, nothing doing that time, right at the heart of the defensive line. They were able to get penetration there, and nothing doing up front.
And you can't even call that a failure on the offensive line of the Demon Knights. The Gators are committing on some plays nearly 9 in the box. Really incredible to see this many defenders that close to the line of scrimmage, but some of that comes with a Snugs formation as well. You have your 5-man offensive line plus a tight end, and then a couple of receivers, maybe an additional tight end lined up nearby just outside of the tackles.
Yeah, really only one safety back deep. Now they put a second.
Once again, a handoff coming on the sweep. This is Grizzle with a big run. Grizzle makes a man miss. Grizzle up the sideline, and he is tackled at the 11-yard line. Christian Grizzle already with one big play in this game, and the 5'7", 125-pounder from Hempstead, New York, making a big impact here in this first half. The Demon Knights will snap this one officially from about the 13-yard line. So Grizzle ruled down a couple of steps short of the 11, but here's another look on that last replay.
Yeah, just is able to get to the outside untouched, and that's when Grizzle can start making moves and dancing down the sideline. Just a nice job to gain space, and just like that, Joe, you have a penalty on the kickoff. They go backwards a couple steps, but one play later, they're inside the red zone.
Who says they might get away from the run game? Not me. As the Demon Knights finding creative ways to run it, they now look to throw. That one toward the back of the end zone, and that was way overshot. as the intended receiver was Tim Commander, or at least that is who was listed as number 17 on my roster. Now, Commander, a defensive end on this roster, and I doubt that's him. Oh, it could be. 6 foot 215, that could be him. That probably is him, just a discrepancy in the position listing.
And the coverage was good, and Caballero putting it in a place where he knows it's not going to get intercepted, and that was just way off the mark there. But on a 1st and 10, why not take that chance?
Gators could have been caught with 12 men on the field right there. 2nd down for the Demon Knights from the 13-yard line. Once again, Snugs formation. Toss goes to Thompson. Thompson cuts it upfield, and he is met right at the line of scrimmage, perhaps a loss of a half a yard, as that play is defended well by the Gators, and it will force the Demon Knights into a 3rd and long situation. They can still get a 1st down without a touchdown at about the 3-yard line.
Yeah, Thompson got up a little slowly there, Joe. He's still in the huddle as Caballero comes back into it, and he's going to continue to give it a go. But he got up very slowly and even looked a little hobbled there in the backfield. And you could still see him feeling the pain a little bit.
To be added minimum 2 minutes.
Once again, a Snugs formation for the Demon Knights. I've gotten quite used to saying that so far this evening. Caballero under center. Thompson in the backfield, as Dave mentioned, a bit hobbled after that last play as Caballero will look to throw toward the corner of the end zone. He has a man, and that is brought in for the touchdown. Errol James with a touchdown reception from Ricardo Caballero, and Caballero has his first touchdown pass of the season to put the Demon Knights on the board. And Dave, we talked about the resilience of this team, and they put it on full display right there as they march straight down the field, taking advantage of the good field position, capping off the drive with a touchdown pass.
Yeah, beautiful timing play. You see it on your screen here. Caballero takes a step, looks to his right, goes right back to his left, and he knew all the way who he was going to, Joe. A nice hookup and the 6 points there for the Empire State.
Well, once again, the Gators have 2. This run game of the Demon Knights, we saw that timing pattern on a similar fade in our early game. Right there, the Demon Knights connect and execute to perfection. 2-point try upcoming. Caballero fakes the handoff, and with it on the sweep is Grizzle. He cuts upfield toward the goal line, and no good. On the 2-point try, that was awfully close as Grizzle tried to get low and sneak his way in under the tackler. He could not. And the deficit will remain 8 points for the Demon Knights.
Yeah, Grizzle very shifty back there and almost made something out of nothing there. Didn't look like he had any shot to get that one, but almost pulled it off. So nice job defensively by the Gators to corral him right near the goal line. And just like that, Joe, ESDK right back in the game.
Can't ask for much more if you're the Demon Knights. Following that last Gators score, the Gators make it a 14-0 game. You get a good kick return. If you're Empire State, you get the penalty yardage conceded by the Gators. They take full advantage, march straight down the field for the score. A big run as well by Grizzle on that drive. He has been huge in this first half. Had a big reception earlier that set up an opportunity down around the goal line. He is proving to be a major impact player for this Empire State team, but defensively, the Demon Knights have to step up and slow down what, to this point, has been a pretty prolific Gators offense. The Gators with a huge touchdown strike of 90-plus yards to open the scoring, then took it down the field once again on their last possession to make it 14-0. Our score here, 14-6, and you have to think we're at about the midway point of this second quarter.
Right, and now it's on the Demon Knights, Joe, to get that stop, right? I mean, the Gators have, proven that they can take advantage of the Demon Knights deep down the field, caught them napping on that last touchdown toss, and now the Demon Knights have to make a statement defensively. They did their job offensively, now they have to respond defensively.
Huge defensive possession for Empire State right here. If they can get themselves one more opportunity before half, they could go into halftime tied and receiving the second half kickoff. But This kickoff is sent deep to the Gators, and they will try to increase their lead as there's a hole here up the middle of the field, blocking in front, and the Gators get a big kick return of their own out to the 49-yard line. Adrian Collymore on the return, and that looked like a lot of trouble for Empire State, but Collymore got slowed down at around the 40-yard line. A lot of traffic. Here's another look on the replay.
Yeah, just a good job of being patient at the start for Collymore. You could see he stutter-stepped at the start and then was able to follow his blockers. Good job by the Knights to corral him before there was any further danger, but great starting field here for the Gators.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Demon Knights did a good job to contain him in between the hash marks. If Collymore was able to break that toward the near sideline, that was going to be serious trouble. But nonetheless, great field position for Harlem as they will look to add to an 8-point lead. Cologne and this Gators offense have made a couple of huge plays in this game. First down snap goes to Cologne. He hands off. A lot of running room along the far side. Breaking it up the field and knocked out of bounds was Shannon James.
Yeah, again, space off to the right side. James was able to cut back in that direction and find himself a lot of real estate. So nice job that time by James.
We've seen a lot of different players getting involved in the running game for both of these teams as the Gators continue to play with tempo on the offensive side of the ball. Pistol formation, single back, 4 wide, 2 on each side. Swing pass to the left is complete. And Kadeem Wilson is brought down just outside of the 30-yard line. And the Gators moving into Demon Knights territory on the previous play. Move a bit deeper on that last completion.
Yeah, get another look at that play before with James scampering to the right side for the first down. Pickup of about 15.
Big chunk play to open up the drive for the Gators, followed up by a bit of a shorter pass. It sets up a manageable second down and about 4 or 5 yards, as it looks like they will snap it officially from the Demon Knights' 31-yard line, perhaps the 32. Shotgun, single back, another free play as Cologne airs it deep. He has a man, and that is caught for the touchdown by Kadeem Wilson. Whistles are blowing, but the Gators are celebrating as the Demon Knights certainly appear to be offsides, and that will go down as another blown coverage. The play will stand. Offsides, Empire State, and a touchdown for Harlem.
Yeah, it's official. Put the 6 points on the board. The Gators answer right back. And, Joe, we said the Demon Knights needed an answer defensively, but the Gators, with their big play potential, they get a couple of runs to the right, a short pass to the left, boom, exposes them down the field. And that's what the Gators are doing. It's kind of like that heavyweight boxer, Joe, that kind of rope-a-dopes a little bit, a jab here, a jab there, and then, boom, they want to land that knockout blow.
Well, the Gators have been throwing haymakers in this first half. A touchdown of nearly 95 yards. Another score on the ensuing drive after an interception, and now a third first half touchdown for Harlem. David Ugarte takes the snap and hands off to Joshua Hines, who will easily take it across the goal line for the 2-point conversion. 22-6 in favor of the Gators.
The big fella Hines getting all the real estate room he needed, Joe. That time the seas parted, was able to put that one in for the score to complete the 8-point touchdown. And great play there again for the Gators, who now go up by 16 points.
Tall task ahead for the Demon Knights, and this drive now becomes perhaps even more important than the last one, as we have to be nearing the end of the first half. And if you were the Demon Knights, with a stop on that last Gators possession, you're looking at a chance to go into the half, at the very worst, perhaps down by just 2, perhaps tied if you can come away with another scoring drive. Instead, they will fight to remain afloat in this game. They don't need to score here, as they are receiving the second half kickoff, but it certainly wouldn't hurt, and you know they're looking to take away at least 6 points from this drive, perhaps 8, so that they can make it a one-possession game.
No, for sure. And if you're the Demon Knights, again, your backs are up against the wall, and you have to have some type of a response here, Joe. Otherwise, This game could get completely away from you, and did a nice job on their last drive, and it started again with a good kickoff return, the coupling that with the penalty. That set them up okay, but now the deficit, it was 14, now it's 16. And again, if you're the Demon Knights, also on the flip side, Joe, you don't want to have another big error here in this half and give the ball potentially back to the Gators either. So a couple of different scenarios at play, but the bottom line is there's plenty of football left to be played, and it's a 16-point game.
Well, this Gators team last season in 2 games against Empire State scored 83 points. So
Right.
the Gators have had their way with this Empire State defense now through the last about 10 quarters or so. That being said, last year's Demon Knights team certainly not at full strength. They came out tonight looking to bounce back from a tough season in a big way. Got off to a decent start, but now it is the Gators leading by 2 scores as that kickoff was muffed by Lopez, and he looks to take it toward the near sideline, makes something out of nothing, and breaks away. Lopez toward the center of the field, and he is tackled at the 50. What a return off the muff by Ty Lopez. It looked like he had nothing, and instead he takes that kickoff all the way out to midfield.
Yeah, how many times are we going to say it, Joe? Making something out of nothing, and that time after a muff, what could have been extremely dangerous. Able to make 1 man miss, 2 men miss, runs into his own guy, he misses, and then it takes a couple of Gators down the field at midfield to finally make the play.
Looks like the Demon Knights will start this drive from about the 49-yard line, perhaps right on the midfield stripe. But we talked about on their last drive, the Demon Knights needed a big kickoff return. They got that and then some on the 15-yard personal foul. On that kickoff, they get another big return following the muff, a muff which could have been catastrophic. And it looked like Lopez may have been stood up by his own player. You called it on that replay. It looked like he was tangled up there along the near side. He spins away from his own man, keeps going, and picked up another 20 yards on the return. So
yeah, team in white and the team in black all missed him, Joe. Couldn't corral him out of bounds, couldn't get him down, but the young man made a great play, and here come the Demon Knights trying to answer back.
And the handoff goes to Thompson, and he is once again stuffed. Perhaps a gain of a half a yard on the play. As
a couple players down. We'll see if they unpeel and are able to get up. Yes, they do.
Thompson was met by Charles Nelson in the hole. Nelson wears number 35, came up a bit gingerly following that tackle.
I'll tell you what, Empire State Demon Knights, they don't really do much on first down, Joe. We've seen them go backwards. We've seen them go backwards again. There was a fumble on a first down. This one goes for naught. If they could start getting some chunk yardage on first down, set themselves up on second and third, they'd be in a lot better shape, but see what they can do here. They've always had a good response after a tough first play.
We'll see if they're saving a play-action fake for another first down somewhere down the line in this game. As the lineup snugs again, Caballero drops back to pass, and there's nobody home on that ball as that fell in between several defensive backs and several wide receivers. As it's going to be third down for the Demon Knights. And you said it ahead of this drive, Dave. It could be very problematic if the Demon Knights give the ball back to the Gators quickly. And they're in a position right now where that is certainly a possibility. And at best for them, if they were to punt it away and give the Gators another possession, they could pin them back deep. But their chances of another possession after that likely slim.
And Shaheem Burnett with great coverage on that last play for the Gators. And the Gators doing well, matching up man for man, at least on that last play. We'll see if they show blitz. They don't.
Caballero looks to throw. Timing is off, and that ball is intercepted. Yemi Tavares takes it up the near side, cuts inside, is tripped up, and he is down inside the 10-yard line. Tavares had a chance to take it to the house, and a great play to trip him up. And I believe that was Grizzle who chased him down and got a piece of his cleat, as it looked like Tavares was headed for the end zone.
That's why you can't ever give up on a play, Joe, but what a great job to disrupt the timing, or really the timing was off to begin with. And Yeah, falling down on that play was Tavares, and unfortunately for him, he doesn't get to celebrate a touchdown, but does give his team tremendous field position here. 1st and goal now, and the Gators on the doorstep of blowing this one open.
Grizzle did get there. He was not the one responsible for tripping up Tavares on his way to the end zone. It's tough to get a number on who it was that got a fingertip on the cleat, but nonetheless, you said it, 1st and goal for the Gators, and they can blow it open with a score here. It would put them up by 22 heading to the halftime break. Demon Knights defense needs a stand. Cologne, hands off, and heading right up the middle, basically untouched, into the end zone is Spencer Adams. And Adams is in with the 4th Gators touchdown of this first half. They now lead it 28-6 with a 2-point try upcoming. And the Demon Knights now in a position when they get this ball back where they need to score.
Yeah, absolutely. And this time is obviously winding down. We haven't had the 2-minute warning yet in this one, Joe, unless it's coming up here.
I thought that might have been the signal right there, but
well, we'll probably know soon enough. Players are down on one knee as maybe there's somebody down on the field. Yeah, there's a player being attended to, Joe, on pretty much the end zone, in pretty much the end zone.
Yeah, didn't catch that on the touchdown run. There is a player down in the end zone, and you always hate to see this, but fortunately, the player who was lying on the turf is helped to his feet, and he is not walking off under his own power, receives a nice round of applause. Can't get a jersey number from up here, but certainly doesn't look good as he's going to be carried off of the field. I believe I saw number 56, and that would make sense because that's linebacker Ronnie Brumsey, the 5'7", 170-pounder from Ridge, New York, out of Alfred State. So if that was number 56, it was Brumsey helped off of the field. Very tough to tell from here as his number was obstructed by the players helping him off, but you always hate to see that, and you hope he's okay, though. Based on what we saw right there, it did not look promising. Certainly can't expect him to return to this game as he was unable to walk off.
Yeah, it's terrible to see, especially in games like this, in a league like this, where many players know one another, or both teams affected by things like that.
And either we had a timeout or we are getting the 2-minute warning right here. The Gators headed back to their sideline. The Demon Knights are lined up in the end zone awaiting the 2-point try. And we will await a return to action as I don't see any conferring going on between the officials, so I would presume we had a timeout called, likely by the Gators, as they are huddled up at about the 20-yard line, and they will maybe diagram something up for this 2-point try. We've seen changes at quarterback for the Gators on their 2-point attempts, or at least on one of them, as David Ugarte got into the game, and he does have his helmet on and is making his way out onto the field. So Ugarte will likely be under center here. And we've seen a lot of pistol from the Gators with a back offset to the left of the quarterback. And we are going to see some more pistol right here. This time a single back lined up directly behind Ugarte in the backfield. 1 wide left, 2 wide right. Tight end lined up to the left. And the handoff is faked. Ugarte rolls out. Throw toward the corner of the end zone is high and wide, as that's something you need to prepare for if you're an opponent of this Gators team, a left-handed quarterback, and rolling to his left. You would think that's the throw you'd want to make on the run. Looked like the play was diagrammed up successfully. There was room in that left corner of the end zone, but the throw was just a bit high and wide of the intended target.
Yeah, just missed it, so they are 2 for 4 now on their 2-point tries, Joe, to make it 28-6 lead. To get a look at the very first touchdown from this one, the one that set the tone here for the Gators, the 95-yard scamper. And the Gators have been making play after that. Of course, the Empire State Demon Knights getting back on the board themselves.
This was a beautiful play for the Demon Knights offense in the passing game. And at that point, we had ourselves a game. It was 14-6, and certainly too early to write off anyone in this game. But the Demon Knights have a very deep hole to climb out of as you get a look at the interception there. That one taken back inside of the 10-yard line, ultimately leading to the score on that run by Spencer Adams.
Yeah, this was the Adams touchdown that just occurred. So a lot of highlight reel materials in this first half, and we still have another half to go. We believe that we've had the 2-minute warning already. So
I think that might have been it right there when the Gators made their way to the sideline, but it's always tough to tell.
Either way, on the threshold of halftime here.
We await another kickoff from Kevin White. But we actually do have two number 88s as well. Timothy Fears Jr. also wears number 88.
Well, Joe, if we end up doing more EFA action this season, we'll have teams that watch this and will improve on their rosters.
And once again, the Demon Knights will make a little something out of nothing. And taking a look at the stature of the man kicking those footballs, he looks closer to 6'3" than 6 foot. So that would be Timothy Fears Jr. wearing number 88. And we have another player down, and that might be Fears Jr. who's down. He was the player who sent that kick deep, and you hate to see this. Non-contact injuries, never good. And sometimes the non-contact injuries are the more catastrophic ones than the contact injuries. If that is Fears Jr., he is down at the 40-yard line, and he is surrounded by coaching staff, presumably a trainer and some teammates, as we are going to have yet another delay in the action.
Yeah, and judging where he is, Joe, he might have went down right after the kickoff.
I'm sure he did, because I can't imagine any other way he would have ended up on the turf. Now, again, this would be a non-contact injury. You can't contact the kicker, and there's simply no way you would if he's around the 40-yard line on a return. That kickoff return didn't end up anywhere near the Gators' 40, and I believe that is Timothy Fears Jr. being helped off of the field.
Yes, sir. Well, we hope Timothy is okay. And it looks like obviously favoring that right ankle. And Joe, we should mention that earlier today it was the Brooklyn Pharaohs scoring a win in their half of the doubleheader against the Bears, who re-entered the league after a 2-year hiatus. So they're 1-0 on the season. The Bears 4-0-1, and 2 teams out of the 6 in the EFA off today. That's the Legion and the Bandits. They will start their seasons off next week.
Caballero looks to pass, and he sends one deep. There's a window there, and a huge hit on an interception. How did he hold on to that ball in the secondary? Antoine Earl with the pick, and he endured a massive hit from the wideout. I can't believe he held on to it. I was ready to call interception, and Earl was laid out as the receiver turned linebacker knocked or attempted to knock the ball out of his hands. Here is this play slowed down. What a hit by the wide receiver, Errol James. And Earl endures the hit and comes away with the football. What a play by the defensive back for Harlem.
Well, he earned that celebration, too, after the fact. Great job by our camera crews picking it up. And, just tremendous, another tremendous play, a big play by the Gators, who seem to always convert on their opportunities to make a big play. And courage under fire, taking that shot, getting right back up. And, Joe, this half isn't over yet. The Gators have shown that they could score on one play. And with time winding down here in the first half, plenty of time for another.
Well, that was a good play by James, laying that big hit on Earl in the secondary, trying to earn his team another snap on that offensive possession. It was not to be, and now the Gators offense is back out. They start from their own 31-yard line. Cologne hands off, and tangled up in the backfield and brought down was Christian Ramsey.
Yeah, nothing doing that time for the Gators, and that collapsed right from the backfield, Joe, and looks like that might be it.
Well, the question is 2-minute warning or halftime? Teams are staying out there on the field, so it looks like this might be the 2-minute warning.
Yes, it is the 2-minute warning, Joe.
All right.
That's exactly what I see the referee signaling with his hand, so.
Now we'll see how quickly they resume play here. And it looks like Cologne is headed right back to his huddle. It doesn't appear as if we're going to have much of a break. And I think we're going to learn a lot about this Demon Knights team over the last now about 32 minutes of this game, trailing by 22 points. They do get the ball to start the second half. If they can get another tackle for a loss or an incomplete pass, you have to think they'll make a bid to try and score before this first half comes to an end. Before they can do that, they need a stop. Cologne in the shotgun, one back to his left, 4 receivers wide. Cologne looks to throw deep once again, and we have another blown coverage as that catch is made by Forio. He fights forward across the 30 and down to the 25-yard line. Wesley Forio with another big reception. He got this game started with about a 10 or a 15-yard gain and a much bigger gain from Cologne to Forio on that play, and that sets up this Gators offense at the Demon Knights 25-yard line.
Yeah, and not a whole lot of urgency getting back to the line of scrimmage here, Joe, but the Gators still have plenty of time.
We know they have just shy of 2 minutes, perhaps closer to the 1:30 mark right now, as Cologne looks to be making a change at the line. He is once again in the gun. Ramsey lined up to his left, 4 receivers wide. Cologne looking left side. He has a man. The catch is made, and fighting forward but not getting out of bounds was Dominic Page.
You might have to use a timeout here.
And they will. Wisely so. You have them. Might as well use them in this area of the field, as we will get another look at that big completion on the previous play.
Yeah, and you see Cologne looking to the left of the field, you know, getting the safeties off of his intended receiver, and then boom, reverts back to the right side. You could see it in his eyes. Everybody was fooled, including the Demon Knights secondary, and it ends up being a huge play by Forio.
We highlighted Cologne in the pregame, but that is a high-level play at the quarterback position, looked off the safety, and you really can't blame the defensive backs for the Demon Knights for cheating just a bit towards Kadeem Wilson. He was the route runner along the left sideline. Cologne looked in his direction. That drew the safety away from his intended target on that play, Wesley Forio, and Forio made the catch, picked up some yardage after the catch, nearly broke it for 6 more. But if you're the Demon Knights, you have to come away with a stop on this possession. Again, can't write a team off in the first half, but they are in a deep hole and need to find a way to come up with the stop on this possession.
Yeah, you know, the wheels are starting to come off a little bit, Joe, with these huge plays down the field. And one of the things that the Demon Knights have in their pocket is the halftime, is being able to sit and discuss, you know, what some of the deficiencies have been, the blown coverages, who is responsible, a chance to clean that up. But you got to get to the halftime break first and treat the second half like an entirely new slate.
The Gators will snap it from inside of the 20 on this second down play. Following a first down completion, the Gators will hand off, and with running room up the middle, taking it toward the goal line, and I believe across the plane, perhaps just short. It is just short as Ramsey is tackled short of the goal line. Gators will snap it quickly. Cologne looks to throw over the middle, and that pass is behind the intended target. That was Tavares.
And you got to think there's precious seconds left because the Gators really hurried to the line there. Impromptu snap. I thought originally that they had gotten in for 6 points there, Joe. Yeah,
I've learned my lesson in this first half.
This far angle of ours has been playing tricks on us all day and all evening.
Might have been mistaken. I think that was Forio, the intended target on the last pass over the middle. Quick hitter. Second down, goal to go for the Gators. Cologne wants to throw again. Lobs one up toward the back of the end zone, And that is another blown coverage as Andre Jameson makes the touchdown reception in the back of the end zone. That is 5 touchdowns in this first half for this Gators offense, and they are rolling as they now lead it 34-6.
Yeah, they've officially blown it open, Joe, and we'll await the result of this one to see if it's even more of a deficit while we get a quick chance to take a look at it. But simple 3-step drop and hanging out in the back of the end zone.
Another rub route. We saw that in game 1. Flat route out of the slot receiver position. Perhaps a bit of a pick, but you won't see that called when the receiver's lined up so close to the line of scrimmage in most cases. And an easy pitch and catch for Cologne and for Jameson. As that's Ugarte throwing for the 2-point conversion. And once again, the pass is incomplete. Forio the intended target. So the score remains 34-6. And the Demon Knights won't have much time on this drive. Wouldn't be surprised to see them take a knee to close out this first half. There can't be more than a few ticks left on the clock, Dave.
No, and that's probably what they're better off doing at this point, Joe, unless, of course, they get a really great return here. Maybe they could salvage a play or two before the half is out. But there's a tough half. The Demon Knights came back. They got that touchdown to really, cut the deficit almost in half. But since then, it's been the Gators. And, if they're the fans in the stands, if both of the teams that played in the first game are still here, Gators are putting a punctuation mark on this first half and really setting quite the tone and making quite the statement.
This Gators offense really looking prolific, but a lot of it has to do with some blown coverages in the secondary.
Right.
The Demon Knights offense got off to a strong start on the ground. They had the big touchdown pass, which at the time made it a 6-point game, but since then the Gators have blown it wide open and have really begun to run away with this one. They now lead by 28 points and will kick it off with what we presume are just a few seconds remaining in this first half. Curious to see how long the halftime break would be in this second game of a doubleheader.
I think it would be abbreviated,
yeah,
just for time, because this one got started about 7:30, half hour past when it was supposed to start. So I know that obviously the lighting and the field requirements too, they'd probably like to get out of here around 10 o'clock. So we'll see what they decide to do. But it's neither here nor there. We still got to get a kickoff coming, and we
need a kickoff specialist.
Right, that's the thing, yeah, and I think that's the reason for a little bit of the delay here, as might be number 71, Omar DeBerry, who will line this one up.
I was going to say, I hope it's not 13, because I don't have a 13 anywhere on my roster. I don't know about you.
I do not.
All right, not just me then.
But number 13 will hold it for DeBerry.
We'll see what he can do. And the left-footed kick travels toward the sideline and rolls right along the sideline. It does go over.
Yeah.
See, we can't see that, so
right.
We can't make any assumptions from up here in the press box. But just in time, that ball traveled over the sideline. So
they'll get it near midfield at the 40-yard line, and that's a much better start than what was looking like it was going to happen there, deep inside the 10 via the nice bounce. But we'll see what the Demon Knights decide to do here, Joe, down by 28 points. We have seen Caballero throw it down the field and go for the home run himself. I mean, granted, there's been some mistiming out there, but, you're down by 28. You might not see any harm just taking a couple of shots down the field, see what happens.
I was thinking, if you have 3 quarterbacks, which has the biggest arm?
Right.
Caballero is out there right now, so you would assume it was him. Now, another question I have is, do they come out in single-back snugs again? Because we haven't seen them in a situation like this all game, and they've only run other sets maybe once or twice. There have been some variations of that snug set where I've seen a third wideout on the left, with the tight end also on that left side. So there have been some variations to that formation, but generally speaking, it's been predominantly single-back snugs looks coming from the Demon Knights offense. And it looks like that's what we're going to get again here.
Yeah, and Timeout, it looks like, by the Demon Knights. Yes, sir. So, yeah, they took too long. We're running out of play clock there, Joe, and they elect to take the timeout and salvage their chance to run another play or two and the field position that they have. And, that's the thing, too, Joe, going into week one, there's a lot of pomp, there's a lot of circumstance, there's a lot of, excitement, but also these teams haven't practiced a lot. They've just formulated their rosters. They still have players that, need to get themselves registered and eligible for play. So, despite all the excitement about an opening day, these two teams, both teams, and all six, are still need refinement, still need polish, and that's what these games are for. These early season games are, in essence, to kind of work out those kinks and get better for game 2 and game 3 and so on.
Either on the positive end or the negative end. Positive, of course, for the Gators, or negative right now for the Demon Knights. You don't want to read too much into what you see in week 1. After maybe 3 or 4 weeks, you can then formulate a better opinion of what to expect from the teams this season. But for a lot of these Demon Knights, a first look, as we might have a pass-up coming here, and this play is broken, as once again making something out of absolutely nothing was James. He was looking to throw off of the handoff, and I hear whistles, and that will be the end of the first half, Dave.
It certainly will. So that is halftime. It was dominated by the Harlem Gators, who take a 28-point lead into the locker room, Joe. It seemed like the Demon Knights were going to have an answer, respond back, cutting their deficit, but after that, big play capability by the Gators is really the difference in this game. It's been the home run that has really been killing the Demon Knights, and you look at that lopsided halftime score, Demon Knights have a few minutes to get right and come back stronger in half number 2.
Well, I talked about this prolific Gators offense during the pregame and the success they had against the Demon Knights last season during the first quarter. This Gators team last year scored over 40 points on 3 separate occasions. They appear well on their way to that total, would only need one more score to reach the 40-point mark in this game. So until the start of the second half, this is Joe Foreman, and Dave Pizzuto and I will step aside for the halftime break. Once again, our score, the Harlem Gators 34 and the Empire State Demon Knights 6. This is exclusive Elite Football Alliance coverage on the PDF Sports Network.
You Know 'Em Right is the podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, entertainment, and pop culture. On the show, hosts Nick and Joe walk guests through the retelling of their humble beginnings, covering an array of topics from specific interests and hobbies to personal opinions regarding each facet of their industry. You Know 'Em Right offers insight on how to adapt and advance, and offers alternative advice as opposed to a one-size-fits-all strategy. Above all else, the number one goal of You Know 'Em Right is to offer listeners an exclusive behind-the-scenes vantage point not found anywhere else through its increasing list of professional connections. With a following that continues to grow daily, You Know 'Em Right is transforming into a must-listen podcast in the right place at the right time. Find the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. You do not want to miss an episode of You Know 'Em Right.
are back from Joseph F. Facina Field, and this is exclusive PDF Sports Network coverage of the Elite Football Alliance. In tonight's matchup between the Harlem Gators and the Empire State Demon Knights, it has been all Gators through the first 30 minutes. They lead it 34-6, and I know my broadcast partner David Pizzuto has some highlights queued up from that first half. We'll take a look at some of those as I remind you that my name is Joe Foreman. Once again, Dave and I here on behalf of PDF Sports Network, and as you see on your screens, this score opened up the scoring in the first half. A long touchdown pass after a broken tackle, and taking it the distance for 6 was James Cole on the game's first touchdown.
Yeah, and then after another touchdown that made it 14-0, you see on your screen, the Demon Knights had an answer, and this was a nice timing play, a beautiful catch in traffic, and that was their response. But unfortunately, the Gators really took control from there. Joe had big play after big play. We'll take a look at those as the game wears on as well.
The opening kickoff in the second half traveled out of bounds, so Demon Knights should get some good field position here as they will move up to the 40-yard line. Demon Knights offense in the first half got off to a pretty good start running the football. A costly interception really derailed that first half for them after the Gators got on the board to open the scoring. Falling behind 2 scores, the Demon Knights then responded with their lone points. That replay was next up in our replay queue, but it will have to wait as the Empire State offense has taken the field with a new signal caller. Number 12, Jaden Mann under center as they come out in a single back snugs set. Fake handoff to the back, and the ensuing handoff on the sweep is muffed and recovered by the Gators for a touchdown. Taking it the distance was Devin Hull Sr. And Devon Hull Sr. with the touchdown for the Gators has put them up by 34 points. Complete disaster strikes for the Demon Knights to open up the second half.
Yeah, it looks like a misplay, Joe, on the exchange, and we'll get a closer look at it exactly where it went wrong.
The initial handoff was muffed and just a brutal hit.
Yeah, it looked like Mann tried to kind of extend across his body, kind of used the wrong hand that time. And as a result, it's now 40-6.
Number 10, Marcus Roman, one of the 2 number 10s on this Gators roster, laying out the ball carrier, Christian Grizzle, who's done a lot of great things for the Demon Knights in this game. That was not one of them. It looked like just simply a muffed handoff.
Yeah, we can look at it. Yeah, we can look at it again in a few plays, Joe. But I really think it was Mann's inability to kind of go across his body. I think he was trying to hand it off with his wrong hand. New quarterback as well.
It's Ugarte once again. He's been in for all of the 2-point conversions,
right,
and he's swallowed up in the backfield, back beyond the 10-yard line. So nothing doing on that 2-point conversion attempt for the Gators, but their lead jumps to 34 points. They have now reached the 40-point mark, and you'll see that off of the play fake to Thompson, Grizzle came across the backfield on the sweep, and he simply muffed it.
Yeah, I guess he did use the proper hand, the right hand, but it looked like he had to go across the body to get that going, and no way, no how, and that's a really tough way to start your game at quarterback, is with the muffed handoff.
Roman with the big hit to knock Grizzle down to the turf and ensure he couldn't recover that ball. Devon Hull Sr. then took it to the end zone for 6 and put his team up by 34. And if you're the Demon Knights, a team that is firmly committed to running the football, do you try and perfect that running game moving forward the rest of the way, now down 34 points, or do you look to air it out and see what you have at the quarterback position? As they haven't attempted many passes, and about half of those they've attempted have ended in interceptions. Yeah, and if I were them, Joe, I would go back to the run game, to the ground and pound, the bread and butter. It's what's going to get you here. It's going to be
the refining of that that's going to win you games. I mean, this one right now, listen, if you can get back into it, great. But you got to start somewhere, and it has to start with what you're good at.
One of the positives for the Demon Knights tonight has been the kick returning game. They did have one that was muffed, but that turned into what was their biggest return of the evening, and that last return is taken out to the 35-yard line. So Demon Knights offense heads back out onto the field, and we were told we might see 3 quarterbacks. Let's see who's under center on this drive.
Demon Knights' first offensive play of the entire game, Joe, was a fumble, an exchange from center to quarterback. If you remember, they were able to get that ball back, and first play of the second half, another fumble, except it ends up in disaster, and it goes for 6 points the other way. And, you know, I say it in other sports too, Joe, you know, there's no such thing as a 34-point touchdown. So you have to start somewhere. You have to piece together some offense, 10 yards, 20 yards, even if the Demon Knights get themselves a 30 or 40-yard drive here and don't score, that's still a peg to hang your hat on and something to build off of. And, you know, a 3-and-out would be catastrophic. Another turnover would be catastrophic. Piecing together small little victories are the way to go.
Jaden Mann back in at quarterback after the botched handoff. Not his fault on that last drive. He will look to throw for the first time, and that ball sails high. And his intended target, Tim Commander, was open on the curl route. That ball just sailed high.
Yeah, you know, there was a wide receiver in the vicinity, but still, that one was really not close by. Man, he did have a little bit of a pocket to step up into, Joe, as the offensive line doing a good job of protecting him in front. But now with a 2nd and 10 coming up, we'll see if the Empire State Demon Knights continue to look to go to the air, and see also what they have in man too, Joe. I think that's another thing. You know, this is a team with 3 quarterbacks on the roster, and in a game like this, you want to see what they can all give you.
And we'll get another opportunity under center. Snug set for the Demon Knights. Single back is Lopez. Man looks to throw, looked left, and is immediately swallowed up in the backfield. As in for the sack, I believe, was Dre Gardner, who wears number 17 for the Gators, and that was Gardner with the ruffled jersey, as he took man down to the turf for a big loss on 2nd down. That sets up a 3rd and long.
Yeah, 3rd and a lot. 3rd and 17, it looks like here, and if you're the Demon Knights now, you almost have to put the ball in the air unless you're going to concede a little field position and look to punt it here on 4th down, but we'll see what plays they have in the playbook for this, with Lopez in the backfield and 3 wide receivers set.
Wide receivers lined up a bit off the line of scrimmage for the first time in quite a while, as man is forced to run. That pocket collapsed quickly, and he is brought down just past the line of scrimmage. Now the Demon Knights wanted a flag, and they won't get it, as man was appearing to give himself up at the end of that play. No flag, and the Demon Knights might go for this, Dave.
4th and 10, and they're at there is a flag down, Joe, on the near side, right near the 40-yard line.
So perhaps they did get the call.
Maybe they did. Let's see.
There were 2 officials right on top of the play who decided not to call the unnecessary roughness. So,
unless they're going to pick up the flag, we don't know. We haven't gotten anything, but they are going to move that ball. The flag is being picked up, Joe.
Okay, so not much of a surprise there. Didn't see much at the end of that play, but you can't blame Demon Knights for petitioning. As you said, we have a 4th and 10 upcoming. Demon Knights trailing by 34 points, as I believe we're approaching about the midway point of this 3rd quarter.
Yeah, the Knights have thrown on every play. The only would-be run was what ended up in that fumble, Joe.
And the clock is stopped as a timeout was called by Empire State. So the Demon Knights will talk this one over. And a lot of the time when you see a team come out to go for it on 4th down and then call a timeout, the team often thinks better of it in those circumstances. I don't know if that will be the case here, as I'm not sure much changes with a timeout trailing by 34, but as I said, the Demon Knights still have plenty of time left in this game to get things right offensively. They likely aren't coming away with a win, but to get things right and get the passing game going, find out what they have at quarterback, as you said, Dave, and perhaps get some other running backs some more touches, whatever it may be. Get the players, many of whom are new to this roster, familiarized with this offense. And we said it during the pregame last year. This was a very depleted roster, losing their quarterback in the preseason. Many players leaving the team after the first couple of weeks. So a new group of guys coming out onto the field for the Demon Knights here this season, many of them in their first with the team. And we'll see what we get from them the rest of the way. And I know that this Demon Knights coaching staff is interested in seeing that as well.
Yeah, and for the Gators, their coaching staff also want to see them continue to stay crisp, continue to stay fresh. Just because you have a 34-point lead doesn't mean that you play lackadaisical or don't play hard. So they're looking to keep their foot on the gas. Still plenty of game left here in this one as we have another timeout here, Joe. And not sure, this might be an official one on the field. Didn't see the head official motion which team was taking a timeout, but certainly that was the call. So we've seen these lengthy delays before, Joe, and kind of wonder what's being said here.
The way these two games we've covered today have moved, we need some more commercial spots. There's been a lot of delays in the action during these two games, the first of which was played earlier in the day, and it was a win for the Brooklyn Pharaohs over the New York Bears, but the officials' whistle sounds. That elicits some applause from the crowd and perhaps from the Gators supporters specifically as they want to stop here on fourth. And man is engulfed in the pocket. He never got rid of the football, and he is sacked on fourth down for a loss of about 5. So the Demon Knights with a disastrous fourth down play, and their pass protection in these passing situations hasn't really held up and has not given either of their quarterbacks time to get rid of the football. It's been off the play fakes and potential running situations that they've been able to throw the football, and trailing by 34 points, I think that it's fair to say they won't be seeing any more of those situations here tonight.
No, definitely not. And, on that last play, that's just a breakdown. Man takes a 3-step drop. You think he's only going to take that 2 or 3-step drop, Joe, to throw a quick pass. But instead, there was nothing there, and he was just engulfed. Just like you said, the word was appropriate. And now Harlem, with a short field, able or in position to add to their lead.
David Ugarte back under center. You have to wonder if we've seen the last of Stefan Gnarly Bleezy Cologne at quarterback. And that carry is taken for a gain of about 4 or 5 up the middle. Once again on the carry, that was Joshua Hines. Big man continues to get work in the backfield, and the Gators continue to go no huddle. Single back shotgun set, 4 wide, and the handoff once again goes to Hines. He takes it inside of right tackle, and he scampers forward right around the first down marker, and I think he got enough. He did, and it is a first down for Harlem.
Yeah, and, similarly to what we said about the Demon Knights trying out their quarterbacks, same thing with the Gators, and also we saw the hurry up there a little bit too. There are going to be those scenarios when you're going to need that, Joe. So why not in a game where you're winning by 34, where it might not be appropriate, early in the third quarter, work on that, try to get your cadence and your rhythm down.
Shotgun set once again for the Gators. Ugarte and Adams in the backfield. Adams takes the handoff. He breaks a tackle, headed inside the 10-yard line, and he is taken down for a nice gain and another Harlem Gators first down.
Yeah, another play where a few tackles were broken too, Joe. It looked like there was a chance to stop the play in the backfield or just on the cusp of the line of scrimmage, and instead that one gets ripped off for a big gain, about 18 yards.
Ground game now paying divs for the Gators, as you have to think they're going to look to run it right at the Demon Knights all the way up the field. We'll see what they do here as the handoff once again goes to Adams. A gaping hole outside of left guard. And Adams is in for the touchdown. Spencer Adams for 6, and the Gators now lead it 46-6.
Yep, they continue to add to their lead. They were given a short field with which to work on, and appropriately, they continue to slam the door here, Joe. We'll get another couple of look at both of those plays in just a few moments. Just like you said, now 46-6. This game has been blown completely open.
Gators will attempt a 2-point try. It is Ramsey in the backfield, shotgun set, alongside Ugarte. 4 receivers wide. We've seen this set quite a bit as Ugarte throws for the back of the end zone, and that pass is incomplete. In the area, Campbell and Young.
Take another look at the play that set up the touchdown first, Joe. A couple of missed tackles at the line of scrimmage, yards inside the 10 that set up the 1st and goal. And then give it to the guy that got you there, right? Spencer Adams, right up the gut, slashing in for the score, and it's a 46-6 game.
Not much time came off the clock on that drive either. They did run the ball 4 times, but didn't seem like that drive took all too long. It was the stoppages that have made this third quarter go by a bit more slowly.
Right. Yeah, we've had a couple of lengthy delays. Not sure why, discussing some things, but the Demon Knights started this half with the football. They had a turnover that led to 6 points, and now they give up a touchdown on a short field after turning the ball over on downs. So what was already a big deficit at halftime, 34-6, has now increased 12 more points.
I don't think a week 1 letdown is all too concerning for the Demon Knights. At least it wasn't at the point of halftime. I think the bigger area of concern is we have another kick return out to about the 3rd. But I think the bigger area of concern is how they've come out flat in the second half. I don't think it was all too big of a concern to be down as much as they were in the first half. You hate to see that, but you don't want to overreact in week 1 of the 8-week season. That being said, it is only an 8-week regular season. You don't have as much time to get it right here in the Elite Football Alliance, but nonetheless, you don't want to overreact to what happened in the first half. I think it's a bit more concerning the way they've come out a bit flat here in the second half.
Yeah, I agree, especially in the first half. You know, they didn't do that poor of a job against the run, Joe. It was really that big home run play with the passing game that really was the difference. Although the Gators did have some success running the ball, I'm not going to say they didn't, but here in the second half, you know, the Gators really haven't thrown the ball at all. And on that last drive, a couple of plays, couple of missed tackles right at the start there, and then, you know, you give up another touchdown. You're doing it in a way where you actually did have a little bit of success in the first half. So you don't regress either. And the Demon Knights still have plenty of time, maybe not to come back and win this game, but to prove that they belong on the same field, because right now the Gators are just in complete control.
First half, the story was blown coverages and turnovers for the Demon Knights that put them in a 28-point hole, as handoff goes to number 7, who once again is not on our roster. We did believe that he scored earlier in the game. He did not. And I hate to say it, it feels so unnatural to say number 7. And we actually joked about this last night on the phone, that if we were in this situation where we didn't have a name for a particular player, it would come down to, well, he's number 7.
Right.
And that's exactly what has happened here in this game.
We'll try to give them their due, and but for now they'll have to be identified by number only. And again, as we continue to cover the EFA, and if we do continue to cover more of their games, hopefully we will get some updated lineups. And again, the rosters are still formulating itself. And Joe, is that the end of the third quarter? Could that be?
Could be. I mean, it didn't seem like all that much time went by unless we had a running clock during the delays, which could that be possible? I doubt it.
Very well be.
I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it.
But the Demon Knights are going that direction. So we are 3 complete here, and it's 46-6 going into the fourth. But an accelerated clock, Joe, understanding, you know, the parameters here. It's a 40-point game. You the officials wanting to keep things moving. And, of course, you're up against the field rental as well, so perfectly understandable.
All right, so the Demon Knights offense will switch sides, and they will snap it very quickly. As the fourth quarter is underway, they snap it from their own 44. Another handoff, and that run is contained between the tackles. Nothing doing on that play, a short gain. And the Demon Knights will have a second down.
And I know I said this before, but I'm really impressed by the way the Gators are playing up front, Joe. It's really easy. If you're one of those defensive linemen, you're up by 40 points. It's very easy to take a play off, maybe walk through the motions a little bit. But they're going hard. They're penetrating that offensive line. They're wrapping up on tackles. You don't see anything lazy. You don't see guys reaching. They're grabbing, they're clutching, they're wrapping up, and it's a good sign for this Gators coaching staff to see their team really on point here late in the game, up a bunch.
It's been an impressive defensive effort for the Gators in this game, and they really locked in after those first few drives for Empire State as that pass swung to the outside. And once again, that is Grizzle making a play. He made a man miss and bought himself a few extra yards as Christian Grizzle takes that out to about midfield, and looks like he'll be just short of the midfield stripe, and Demon Knights will snap it from their own 49-yard line.
Yep, about halfway to the first down marker. This will be another big third down here. Gators bringing in some fresh substitutions. Wants to think the Demon Knights will probably put the ball in the air here. We'll see what they have, what plays they have in their carousel to use from.
Down marker hadn't changed. This will be third down.
Not the first time, but rare time we've seen them in the spread, Joe. 4 wide receivers across the length of the field.
Haven't seen this much from the Demon Knights at all. 4 wide out of the shotgun. Man takes the snap. He looks left. Here comes the rush. Man gets rid of it, and that did not reach the line of scrimmage. If it did, it wasn't by much, and that ball's incomplete. It will be fourth down for the Demon Knights offense, and it looks like they're going to stay out on the field. Not surprising.
Yeah, that would make sense. 4th and about 5 here. And again, if you're a fan of either one of these teams right now, it's not really about the scoreboard. It's about what team comes out of this game with, the more moxie and basically what can they take into game 2. We know that the Demon Knights will be facing off against the Bandits, who were idle today, so it'll be the Bandits' first game. And the Gators, they're going to face off at Pharaohs, and if the score holds, we believe it will, it'll be a pair of 1-0 teams battling next week.
Should be a pair of very interesting games as Man takes the snap on 4th down, throws deep left sideline. He's got him, man! And that is off the fingertips of Errol James. He had a chance. That ball turned him around a bit along the sideline, but that was a good throw from Man over the outstretched arm of the defensive back, and there was a window for James to make that catch. Unfortunately for the Demon Knights, he could not come up with it as it hit off of his hand, and we'll see it again on the replay.
I agree with you. This is a good throw right over the outstretched hands of the defender. I think James needs to make that play. It's a little bit his body. He's going one way, the ball is in the other, but that ball hung up there, and if James is able to make a nice play there, they're in business. But it will be the Gators who will have possession here, up by a few touchdowns, looking to close this out and continue to play sharp. As Joe has mentioned previously, Ugarte will stay out there. It's like Cologne's day is done and has been done here, as we see him right below us here, Joe, with pads half off at least.
Going back to that last play quickly, Man was under immense pressure. I said there was a window that ball in. That's because the left end zone was obstructed from my view. If that ball had been up the field, that could have gone for 6. That being said, as I mentioned, Man was under immense pressure on that play. Once again, the pocket collapsing. And as I said before, pass protection's been a bit of a problem for the Demon Knights here this evening. We'll see if their defense can get off the field. It hasn't been a good second half for the Empire State defensive unit. And Ugarte with a big hole to run. He's out across the 35-yard line. And just like that, the Gators are a bit deeper into Demon Knights territory.
Yeah, that is a right from the get-go. Ugarte finds his hole, takes him half a second to identify it, but once he does, hits it hard. First down, and they're at the 33-yard line of the Demon Knights.
Once again, a back shotgun look from the Gators. With 4 receivers wide. Ugarte takes the snap. He will run once again. This time he gets a block from his back and a big hole for the second consecutive play as Ugarte is down to the 16-yard line.
Yeah, just another designed quarterback run. Nothing too fancy about it. Almost looked like the same exact play, same exact hole opening up right behind the fullback leading the way. And that time he went around him, and another first down, pickup of about 16 yards.
That was Philippe Gordon, the 5'11" at 250-pound tight end, lined up in the backfield. He wears number 34. And on the first play, Ugarte went inside of Gordon's block. On that last play, he faked as if he was going to go inside the block and then took it outside as Gordon, the handoff fake to him. Ugarte stays on his feet. He rolls left, stays on his feet. Yet again, he breaks another tackle. He now reverses field and is headed for the near side. He has a blocker in front of him and a great tackle to wrap him up by, guess who, Dave? Number 7. As we don't have a name on the roster, he deserves his due. He did not give up on that play. And I have to laugh. It's almost comical to not have the name of a player who gives that kind of effort and makes a tackle like that to perhaps prevent a touchdown, at the very least, to prevent a much bigger gain.
And Ugarte had to be gassed at the end of this one. He covered about 70 yards, Joe, going one side of the field to the field and back again. And at the end of it all, it's a modest gain of 2. But Ugarte, A, Joe, getting positive yards, and B, keeping the clock moving as well. So good play and a great open field tackle by number 7.
Now, did Sean tell us what number Zachary would be wearing?
I don't know. That he didn't say. So
could he
maybe
be number 7?
It could be, and maybe that's coming to us in week 2. We'll see.
All right, as that handoff is taken, and another nice gain on the ground for the Gators, as that was Christian Ramsey who takes it down inside of the 10-yard line. Now, I've never met Sean personally, so I don't know what it's like. I can't get any insight into whether or not that would be Zachary from knowing what Sean looks like, so that's no help. But nonetheless, that's just one player. Well, I know he's number 77. Tough to see him in a helmet. He is along the far side.
So after all this, Joe, it's going to be another 1st and goal here, as they did get enough for the first down. And the Gators positioning themselves now for maybe getting over the 50 mark.
Ugarte will take the snap from the 8-yard line. He hands off to Ramsey, and Ramsey is stuffed for a loss of about a yard, maybe 2.
Yeah, no urgency, though, for the Gators. They understand they have a big monster lead. You see Ugarte coming back to the sidelines to get to ends and what play needs to be called next. Now he heads back. And they'll take their time getting the play together.
It will be a 2nd and goal from just outside of the 10.
We haven't seen the Gators attempt a extra point or a field goal, and they did have an injury to their kicking specialist, so we think a field goal might be out of the question here. So 4-down territory for sure.
We did see one extra point attempt earlier in the day as that throw goes toward the near side, and on the comeback making the catch was Wesley Forio. He's had himself a good game.
Yeah, and that gets them a little bit more than half of the distance to get into the end zone now, so 2 plays to get the final 5 yards. It's the first time they put the ball in the air on this drive. Handedly up by 40, and with the clock running.
I just want to be certain we have it right. We do have Marcus Roman also listed as number 10, but Number 10, Wesley Forio, is listed as a running back, so I didn't think it was beyond the realm of possibility. He could also be playing receiver. Number 10, or the other number 10, was out there. But we have no distinction to help us figure out who is who. So
And
we have this play blown dead before it gets started, as immediately breaking off sides was Errol James. So once again, 2 number 10s on the Gators roster, and Wesley Forio listed as back. We don't have a position listing for Marcus Roman on my roster. Do you on your roster, Dave, for number 10?
Marcus Roman, defensive lineman.
Okay, so that won't be him
Yes.
at wide receiver. That was him on defense, as I said, last drive. So I got that much right. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11 additions to the roster from about 12 a.m. this morning.
Right. And we knew that would happen. We knew that that game day, there'll be some late stragglers, guys getting registered a little bit late officially, and we were told it's kind of that's the way it'll kind of be, as the Gators got half the distance to the goal now, half-yard line.
Pistol formation, single back, and once again, it is Hines taking, or appeared. He took the handoff. It's a play fake, and Ugarte will try and run it, and instead heaves up an ill-advised pass as he is taken down to the turf. So looked like Hines had taken the handoff. Good play fake by Ugarte, as we have many flags along the far side, and we'll await the call. It was a barrage of laundry around where Ugarte was brought down, so no less than.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't catch the motion by the official, but was he over the line of scrimmage, Joe, or was it
Very possible. It was awfully close, and the Gators are moving back, so that
10 yards?
could have been it.
And that usually occurs with a loss of down, too, but it's still third. So
I think it was a 5-yard penalty, because didn't they snap it around the 6?
no, the 2.5, Joe.
2.5. Okay. Oh, it was half the distance from about the 5.
Right.
So, okay. Makes sense. 10-yard penalty. We await what will be a 3rd down and goal, this time from about the 11, maybe the 12-yard line. Ugarte looks to throw, and that's a tight window, and it is intercepted by Caballero. Caballero and blockers along the far side. He pitches the ball back to James, who stays in bounds. He moves up the sideline, down inside the 30, 20, 10, and a touchdown. If he stayed in bounds, and we will see the signal, he did remain in, as that is going to be a pick 6 reception to Caballero, and James finished it off on the lateral. He tiptoed along that far side and was able to keep his feet in bounds for the score. A huge play for the Demon Knights in this 4th quarter.
Yeah, what a play. I mean, what a play. The wherewithal for Caballero to throw this behind him, it seemed like...
What a grab.
It seemed like James was kind of lockstep with him, and it really wasn't necessary to do that. Caballero looked like he had the better angle, but instead he opts to lateral it and create a block, and next thing you know, it's to 12 on a 3rd and goal from the 12 the other way around. So nice play by the Demon Knights.
You have to think that maybe Caballero was running out of steam. That's the only explanation I can think of.
Perhaps.
As you said, they were in one another's hip pockets along that far side, and they were lucky that ball didn't travel straight out of.
Well, first thing I thought when he was going to lateral, it was like, oh my goodness, he's going to fumble that, or it's going to go out of bounds, or. But shows what we know from 50 yards away here in the press box. Caballero with a great play there. That'll make the highlight reels for sure. And ESDK adds a touchdown here in the 4th quarter. And officially, Joe, 88-yard interception return.
By the time he reached the end zone, we were about 70 yards away, plus the width of the field.
Right. And we talk about in baseball how there's combined no-hitters and things like that. Well, that was a combined 88-yard interception return. Maybe on the replay we'll get to see exactly how many yards each of them got on that one. But It's pretty cool. And I think where he grabbed that ball was about the 5-yard line, so it was more like a 95-yard interception return. But the concentration to tip it up, to grab it, to pirouette out of there, and touchdown, that's a great play in a game that's featured a lot of big, great plays.
So we will have a 2-point try. Once again, it is Jaden Mann under center. He's flanked by Ty Lopez, shotgun set. 4 receivers wide, 2 on each side, and Mann looks to throw over the middle. He has a man. And once again, that is Christian Grizzle, who has been heavily involved in the Demon Knights offense all night. And he comes up with the reception on the 2-point conversion to make it 46-14.
Now we get another look at that interception return for a touchdown. It looks like Caballero grabs it at about the 2-yard line. He's out from there. Again, I don't see him turn around and even know his teammate is there. But James was and kept his footing. Caballero continues to block people down the field, and that was a wild score. One of the ones I think we'll look back on again and again throughout the season. We'll keep that replay plays, but that was a great one. That was a really, really fine play.
So I think what Caballero saw looking at that replay, I think he saw one man to beat and figured, I'm in the best position to block him.
To block that guy.
I'm in the best position to block him. So let me pitch this back, set up a block, and hopefully help my team generate a score. And there's another defensive score. A few of those today.
Yeah.
There's another one right there. So if you're a fan of defensive football or a fan of offensive football, we've gotten a little bit of everything throughout today's coverage on this kickoff weekend for the Elite Football Alliance.
Yeah, we saw a special teams touchdown in game 1 of this doubleheader. We saw a special teams touchdown called back due to a penalty in the first game as well. You know, we've been giving our audience, Joe, a lot of highlights, a lot of instant replays. It does not happen without our camera guys who have done a tremendous job. Louis Matrona outside in the blazing heat for game 1, giving us some great shots on our main 50-yard line cam, and Deanna managing our hero cam and giving us all the up-close and personal looks throughout the evening. 2 guys have done a great job for us. We want to thank them for their hard work throughout the afternoon and the evening, and they're the reason behind some of these great visuals that you see. Joe and I just get the benefit able to explain them to you, and of course to provide you with a little bit of context.
Certainly appreciative of both Chris and Lewis making the trip out from Staten Island alongside us. We're about, or at least I'm about, an hour and 20 minutes away from home. You're a bit further, Dave, but of course it is our pleasure to cover football for the Elite Football Alliance. Once again, Vic Foreman alongside David Pizzuto for the PDF Sports Network. Our broadcast earlier in the day was our debut broadcast. This one, Game 2, and what has been a very entertaining day of semi-professional football is nearing a close as this kickoff is sent out across and it is scooped up by Shannon James. James has some blockers in front of him. James breaks through a pair of tackles, and he is taken down at the 45-yard line.
Kind of get the sense that James was going to break that one as well. Pretty typical of things that we've seen today, but the Demon Knights are able to finally get him at close to the middle of the field, and the ball will be placed down at about the 40-yard line.
I spoke about the defensive touchdowns we've seen today. I'm glad you mentioned the special teams touchdowns as well. We've seen a lot of very dynamic returns throughout our 2 games of coverage. The one that went for 6, the one that was called back, and we've seen some big returns in this game as well where kicks have been muffed. That one was chased down after skipping along the turf. Certainly don't turn away from the action during kickoffs, as we have seen plenty that is highlight reel worthy during those special teams plays.
Yeah, and in the pregame of our first game about how the kicking game is a big part of semi-professional football, because obviously with kickoffs and extra points, those things become huge. And, you know, last year's championship game is, you know, perfect fodder for that. The final score of 8-6, and kicking game, obviously a lot of teams go for 2, as we have a timeout here called, I believe, timeout called by the Gators.
We've seen quite a few timeouts taken and stoppages that have extended for quite some time in between possessions.
Right.
Unusual throughout the day, as we'll see how long this delay lasts. And Looks like the officials are going to confer at midfield.
Yeah, and the officials also are being very patient with both teams at times. We saw this in the first game as well. They know it's opening weekend. They know that there are still things to count, that the coaches could really use an extra few seconds or two to get their teams ready to go out there and perform well. So I'm sure that those things will kind of be tidied up as the season gets along as well. And, Joe, even the league itself takes its time. I mean, you mentioned in pregame of Game 1 how the league, how many teams are going to make the playoffs, whether it be 4 or 5 or potentially even 6 if all 6 teams are really involved. So they're very patient with the teams involved as well. They want to see great football. And if the playoffs promises all 6 teams can play great, they'll have it.
Well, that snap went awry into a big run as we're going to have another flag, and I think
late.
It may have been a late takedown along the far sideline, so that's going to be 15 yards if we saw that correctly, and the official is pointing in the direction of the Demon Knights. So tack 15 more on to that run by Ugarte, who had that snap deflect off of him up into the air. Been disaster, and instead he takes it to the left sideline, makes his way out of bounds, and was taken down a bit late over there. So 15-yard penalty will bring the ball out to the Demon Knights 40-yard line. First down is another bad snap. And almost a botched handoff as well. And it's gotten a bit sloppy here.
This was back to that first one. And then, of course, the extracurriculars. Looks like Ugarte was out there and then was slammed down. So that's the reason. 15. And I believe, Joe, that morning. Or is that the bowl game?
That's a great question, and it feels so awkward to ask that question.
It is. That's the ball game, Joe.
Okay, so it was a running clock in the fourth quarter. Looks like they wanted to try and get this one in and to its conclusion before 10 p.m. So the two teams will line up and shake hands. Field wrapping up what has been a great day of coverage here on the PDF Sports Network. Dave, some final takeaways from the full slate of action or from this game here to wrap up today's coverage.
Well, I think first and foremost, it's really great to showcase the EFA for everybody to see. Obviously, these games will go up via tape delay on Sunday, but then to revisit them, to retake in the highlights, a pleasure for you and I, and of course for the PDF Sports Network, just getting started to feature all of these great young men who are coming out here, giving their all on a Saturday evening and giving us some great entertainment. I know the fans had a great time, and everybody here really enjoyed it, and more of us here from PDF.
No doubt about it. It's been a great day for us here on PDF Sports, and we thank the Elite Football Alliance for welcoming us in. It was a very smooth operation today. We got in about an hour and a half before the game, got set up, ready to go ahead of the first game, and then brought you a doubleheader full of coverage from the Elite Football Alliance. Again, in Game 1, it was the Brooklyn Pharaohs over the New York Bears. Here in Game 2, the Harlem Gators defeat the Empire State Demon Knights. We hope to possibly be back next weekend. We will see. But until next time, this has been Joe Foreman alongside David Pizzuto for the PDF Sports Network. We want to thank our camera operators, Christiana and Louis Mach. Without them, this would not have been possible. So until perhaps next weekend, maybe later, we sign off once again. Gators over the Demon Knights in this Game 2 of our Elite Football Alliance doubleheader exclusively on the PDF Sports Network.